absolutely. Most people contribute to these products, and they're great products. Don't get me wrong; I'm not speaking against them, but again, the education is the most important part of it. I don't advise anyone to do anything, no matter how great or good it sounds, if you don't know what it is or how it works.
Hold on, pause. Then I might need to leave all of the jobs. People might have to leave their jobs. We might have to leave the tax system. We might have to leave America because we don't know how this system works.
Right. And again, for me, in terms of pursuing finance, it was always about the education, because what a lot of people have misconstrued is that having money is having a plan, and that's hardly the case. I have, believe it or not, my more savvy clients are my everyday kind of clients, my guys who are making, $40,000, $50,000 a year, my ladies as well. And then I have clients who make a couple $1 million a year, and they're even more lost because the narrative is that if you make more money, you'll have, things more figured out. And rest in peace.
The more money we come across.
There you go. Rest in peace to Chris Wallace. He was onto something a long time ago. And not necessarily the more money, the more problems, but the more money, the different problems. And so when you speak to people who are pretty affluent and they have lots of money, and then you speak to them in terms of exit strategies, if they're business owners, when you speak to them about tax diversification and estate planning, and then they're totally confused by these things because they figured if they just keep making money that they'll solve those problems. And money is definitely a problem solver, but it's not the problem solver. You have to know how money works, and a lot of times in our communities we know the value of a dollar, but we don't know the power of it. So.
Hold on, can I tweet that? Say that again, no.
A lot of times.
Hold on. I wanted to capture that on film. Noah B. Jones, New York Life Insurance. I think he's been a celebrity in my world for years. First with preparations, and then with you can't get into the club unless you know Noah. So, and to now enter the world of finance, were you always in finance? But before you go on and say that quote, before we get into that question,
what I've come to find is that we understand the value of a dollar, but not the power of it. And that holds pretty true when speaking to people that look like me and speaking in communities that look like mine. And it's a narrative that has to be changed. It's the narrative that we're working on changing, even if there's small contributions made by me and other financial professionals or wealth management guys who are of color. So that's what we're working on.
Come back. Put it on your lip. I know it's not FreakyFriday, but we need that base. And if I can, for the viewers, ask you to pivot. There you are. And I'll go ahead and get the sun out your eyes. So as far as like being a financial planner, what does that mean? And, diversifying your clients' portfolios and managing your clients' portfolios, does that mean like you get to play Monopoly all day, but with real money?
Not quite. I wish it was that. It's a lot more tedious than that. What I do, excuse me. What I do find is that most advisors, not even most advisors, but a lot of times people have consulted advisors, whether they be through work or community action programs. They've consulted with advisors, and a lot of advisors' practices are a bit dated, where they'll look at, say 2 clients, and they'll be the same age, and they'll make the same amount of money, and they'll kind of subscribe or make the same kind of recommendations to both clients, despite the fact that both clients could have totally different goals, totally different mindsets, totally different visions for what their futures are to be. So for me, it's very important to kind of peel back those layers and really get an idea of who I'm working with on an individual basis, whether it be a company, whether it be a small business, whether it be an individual. It's important to get to know that person and what their goals are, because you can't just mass diagnose. I can't look at Tayla and say, okay, Tayla's this age and she makes this much money, and have another client your age who makes the same amount of money and say, okay, you both do the same thing. It doesn't work that way. That's kind of like your doctor saying, oh, this client has a cough, or this patient has a cough, and this patient has a cough. Give them both cough syrup. One could have cancer, the other has a common cold. You look at malpractice. So
is there malpractice in finances?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. After 2007, 2008, when things kind of went haywire,
yeah,
the government has been very proactive in terms of protecting the citizens of this country, in terms of getting janky information and being led astray. And like any industry, there are some downsides to it. There are the Bernie Madoffs of the world. There are people who take advantage of folks, and but we like to believe that there are more Noah Joneses than there are Bernie Madoffs. People who are genuine and ethical, and those are two of the biggest the biggest talents or the biggest characteristics of a good financial advisor, someone who's ethical and someone who is of good morals and good values and principles. So you're entrusted with, individuals and companies, their most intimate details. So rapport development and being a good person are some of the largest characteristics of being a good financial advisor outside of just the numbers.
So, really quickly, he matters not a part of this conversation, but Madoff. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand what he did, like the whole Ponzi scheme and the pyramid scheme, and how is that any different than what actually, like, I thought what he was doing was what everybody did. He just got caught for it.
Kinda, and that's typically the way white-collar crimes are comprised, where everyone's doing it and it's okay until, someone gets hurt or someone ends up taking an L, and then the house kind of falls down. Because, believe it or not, the same practices that kind of collapsed our market back in 2007, 2008, they're still being done right now. They're just calling them something differently, and this is the government. This is big wig corporate America. They're doing a lot of the same practices that damaged our economy back in 2007 and 8, and they're doing the same things now. They're just simply calling it something different, and that's the way it works, unfortunately. But that's on a much larger scale. That's on an economic, that's on a national economic scale. Mm-hmm. But in terms of one-on-one, working with an advisor and getting your portfolio managed properly and getting the right, sound advice, that's a lot different than what Madoff was doing. But again, we like to believe, and I do believe, that there are certainly more Noah Joneses than Bernie Madoffs out there.
And what's that quote again? That's the quote of the day.
It's what I've gathered about, our people in our communities, that we understand the value of a dollar, but not the power of it.
We understand the value of a dollar, but not the power of it. How many times have I asked you or told you or suggested that every time you open your wallet, every time you hand over your credit card, every time you hand over a bill, who are you giving your power to? Again, we understand the
value, but not the power
of a dollar.
Absolutely.
So I urge you to question yourself and continue to question yourself about what it is you feel. Who are you giving your power to?
Right.
Who are you continuously giving? Who did you give your power to last night? And that goes for. I was gonna something hit me, but I'll leave that there. I am 49 years old. Mm-hmm. Not in real life. I do a lot of role playing. I'm 49 years old. I don't have any children. I am sick and tired. I don't have a 401k with my job. I really don't have a good job. I'm not making minimum wage because I've been at my job for a few years, but I'm only making $14 an hour. Mm-hmm. I don't have life insurance. Mm-hmm. I don't have, I'm lost. Mm-hmm. I'm about to hit 50 next year, and what society would deem as successful, I am not. Mm-hmm. What are my first steps to becoming, on this path of having a 401k, preparing for my future? I'm 50 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm about to retire in 15 years. Mm-hmm. But what steps do I take? It was never, my grandmother never taught me. My mother never taught me. I grew up in the 70s. This wasn't part of our conversation. In the 80s, I was a drug dealer, did a little time. I'm just trying to do my thing out here and make $1 and, make them meet, even though they're ends.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first part of that is, unfortunately, that person probably won't be able to retire at 65. So I know the idea is that 65, well, actually the national retirement age is now 68 because we're living longer. That person probably won't be able to retire, at least not the way they want to in 15 years, because there's a lot of work to do. The thing about financial planning, the thing about financial understanding and really taking advantage of it is, it truly is, the earlier you start, the better off you'll be. It's one of those things where time is your friend. Time is certainly your friend. The earlier you start, the more beneficial any of the information that you'll be able to obtain will help you. Very much like if you have a cavity and you go see your dentist the day you get a cavity, it'll be a small outpatient procedure. You'll get the little cavity filled and you'll be all set. Whereas if you let that cavity kind of grow and fester and decay, chances are you need a root canal. And what I mean by that is, what I'll touch on from that is, so many of us have resources in terms of being able to visit one of the symposiums that you helped organize down at the Urban League last month, where all the information was free. You know, the food was free, and all it took was for people to give their time. So there are resources here, but it's interesting to see how many folks aren't proactive, despite the resources being free or despite the resources being readily available. We know so much about what's going on in reality television, but we don't know about community action programs. We don't know about free programs that wonderful people like yourself are organizing for the community. While we did have a pretty good turnout, we did have about 40, 50 people at the last event.
Most of it was elders.
Right. And a lot of that information, like I mentioned, it is a lot more valuable to younger people. So if folks could have been there and folks could have taken a few hours out of their day, because we were live for maybe 6, 7, 8 hours that day. And while having 40, 50 people come out in Roxbury is amazing, there should have been 400 or 500 people there. Yes. There should have been 4,000 or 5,000 people there because it was free. All you needed was your time, and it's that's where it gets a little scary in terms of working with our people, because we'll certainly point fingers and we'll certainly point blame at not having access to resources, and even when we do provide them, they're not supported. They're not supported the way they should be. That building should have been packed. We should have had people outside.
They didn't understand the power of free, Noah.
Right, absolutely. And that's what I'd like to stem from that is the misconceptions about gaining financial literacy or gaining financial advice is that I can't afford it, or I don't know anyone, and my rebuttal to that is always, you can't not afford it. For someone to say, an advisor's worth this much, and I don't want to spend that much, and when you look around our communities at what we spend money on frivolously, you look at our contributions to the retail market, and I don't want to hear that any of us can't allocate some funds towards making sure that we're doing the right things by our money. And again, the reality is you can't afford not to. Whatever money you think you may be saving by not consulting an advisor, at least getting the fundamentals, at least understanding, having a fresh set of eyes, or a qualified set of eyes rather, on your portfolio to see what you're doing and see what you're not doing, and give you some guidance, get you going in the right direction. The money you think you're saving by not consulting a professional is money that you will surely pay a few times over by not knowing.
So let's say, for instance, again, I'm 49 years old, don't have a great job. You just told me I'm not going to retire. I hate Tayla right now for even bringing this to my reality, because it's been something that's been in the back of my mind, but it's never general conversation. So being this person, maybe it's 42, maybe at 42, am I still not retiring?
It depends. It depends on what we're willing to contribute, because at that point there's got to be sacrifices made. At any point when you're planning for the future, it's predicated on sacrifices, and that's one of the things that our counterparts have long become accustomed to. It's about making small sacrifices now for larger impacts later on in life. The idea of any kind of investment is always predicated on compounded interest. So the whole kind of get rich quick scheme is just that. It's a scheme. There is no account. There is no law-abiding account where you can dump money in and pull a whole bunch of money out and be scot-free. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way it works. But to touch on that, the first course of action for anybody, whether they be 42, whether they be 25, whether they be whatever age, the most important piece of that is to become educated, to learn what your options are. The greatest thing in life is having options. So before you can say, okay, I can do this or I can't do this, especially if we're using the scenario with the 49-year-old person at 50, there are a bunch of catch-up options that the federal government allows in the financial realm.
Ooh, tell them.
Absolutely. I mean, if we look at max contributions to, say, deferred compensation, meaning a 401k, max contributions for anyone under 50 years old is $18,000 currently. So you can contribute $18,000 annually to a 401k, to a tax-sheltered account, like a 401k, 403b pension.
Tax-sheltered account, that sounds like Mitt Romney. What is that? What is it?
Traditionally, your 401k will be invested into what's called a TSA, a tax-sheltered account. It'll be in some kind of tax-sheltered annuity, rather. It'll be, that's where the government allows you to invest your pre-tax money, meaning 401k, qualified money. Qualified is always pre-tax. They allow you to invest your pre-tax money without taxation. So you get to defer those taxes until distribution. So you don't pay any taxes on that money until you start pulling it out. So what happens?
That sounds like Monopoly. Those cards in the middle. This is what And we play the game and have no idea that this is real life. Annuities. Yeah, that's in Monopoly. Retirement, that's in Monopoly.
Yeah, this is Monopoly on real life, and unfortunately, we stroll past Boardwalk all too often, and we don't appreciate what it actually is. So, but to continue on that, anyone under 50 years old, there's a max contribution of $18,000. If you're over 50 years old, 50 or older, there's a catch-up provision put in place for folks who maybe have started their planning a little too late, or not too late, but later. So if you're over 50, then you can contribute $24,000. There's also a bump in if you have an IRA. An IRA is an individual retirement account, and essentially the way an IRA works.
That's what it's still. Yeah. Individual retirement account.
Absolutely. And an IRA works almost parallel to a 401k, but essentially why the federal government developed IRAs back in the 60s, I believe. It was for folks who were self-employed. It was for contractors who didn't have the actual backing of a large firm or a large company to offer them, 401k benefits and X, Y's, and Z's. So IRA pretty much works synonymously with a 401k. It's just for folks who are self-employed, and unfortunately, you're probably not going to get an employer match unless you're giving it to yourself. But even an IRA has a catch-up provision where if you're over 50, you can contribute more than someone who's under 50. So the all actions are going to lead to gaining education. It's gaining, the knowledge of what you can and can't do. And again, if you think that, consulting a financial professional is going to be too expensive, you can't not afford to. You can't not afford to, because you'll probably find yourself limited in terms of your resources and options because you don't know what you have available. That's why it's very important to take the time out to really peel back the layers and see who you're working with in terms of my responsibilities, because there could be a 49-year-old who, is playing catch-up, and they're in a position where they want to start being aggressive in their retirement, and they could find themselves not knowing all the options they have. So they can spend the next 15 years not having full advantage of all the opportunities in their lap, and unfortunately, that retirement picture looks a lot different because they didn't have all the information.
So I feel like not knowing sounds like death, because you keep on saying if you don't know, not knowing, if you didn't have the knowledge, and then the next step after that is like, then you're screwed. Like, that's what it feels like. That's what it sounds like.
But that's like anything. The information is the most important part of it. It wouldn't make sense to have a bunch of rich dummies. Having money is not having an answer. Having money is not the solution. Having money is great. Absolutely. I'm not telling anyone not to make money, but I'm also telling them to be educated with that money. Again, it's beyond knowing the value. It's about knowing the power. And again, that's something that we lack tremendously in our culture and in our communities, amongst our people. And I have the unique opportunity to work with people outside of just our community. I have white clients, I have Indian clients, I have Asian clients, I have Latino clients, and you're able to see.
Do you have black clients?
Absolutely. That's
so
why
we are not exempt.
No. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm here this morning, and that's my mission. That's my mission. I want people that look like me to be more savvy, because, like most young black people, I grew up in a household where I watched my parents do $10 worth of work to make a dime. And the narrative has to change. We have to start understanding that working hard is dated. It's about working smart. Our counterparts aren't out there working hard. And that's not to say that I don't believe in hard work. I certainly believe in hard work, but it has to be parallel. It has to be synonymous with working smart. You got to have two of them. If you're working just hard, that's not a life you want to live. That's just you kind of busting your butt for X amount of years and really not enjoying the fruits of your labor, not to the full capacity of it.
Okay, let's say, for instance, I am married. I'm married. My husband and I are well off into our 60s. He already retired because he did X amount of years at his job, because, some jobs don't require you an age limit, but the time that you've invested. I'm about to retire in 4 years. We have grandbabies and children and multiple properties, but I never thought that we needed an investor or somebody to look over our portfolio, because, we only have a house. We don't have investment property. We have some dollars set aside so we can travel the world together, but I never thought prior to this conversation that I would have anything to talk about. What would we sit down and discuss?
Well, it is absolutely mandatory, and any of my clients can tell you this, that they are obligated to meet with me at least twice a year. And that's through the duration of our relationship. I don't care if they're 16. I don't care if they're 60. It's important for them to keep in contact with me. For me to manage your portfolio, it's like me babysitting. You know what I mean? Anytime something happens in your life, and what we call life events, if there's a retirement, if there's a home purchase, a home sale, all these things I have to be made privy to, and I have to be kept abreast because I manage your future. I manage everything going on in your life. So I don't care if you are 60. I still meet with my clients who are 60. We gotta meet at least twice a year. I need to know what's going on in your life.
But I'm not a client, and I'm kind of thinking maybe I should, but why would I be?
One of the biggest fears for someone who's 60 years old who's already retired is running out of money, and it's an epidemic. I believe not just in our country, but globally, people are living longer, and people are everything goes up except wages. So while I believe a few decades ago, the average retiree was able to retire without a mortgage. Now, over 70% of retirees currently in America retire with active mortgages.
Hold on, I love statistics. Can you give that one again?
Over 70% of retirees in America retire with active mortgages.
And when was it before? When most people?
I don't have the actual dates. I will get them for you. But I was doing the research not too long ago in our parents' lifetimes. In our parents' lifetimes, and it's definitely our grandparents' lifetimes, the majority of folks, the idea is obviously to retire without a mortgage because that's typically your largest bill. You don't want to be retired seeing less money in retirement than you did during accumulation.
So I can imagine that was like back in when you could purchase a house for $50,000.
Well, not even just then, because even when you were purchasing homes for $50,000, you were making significantly less. If you look at the trend of wages, they have gone up. They just don't go up as much as everything else does.
Okay.
But for the average 60-year-old right now, they probably can't retire at 60. That's why the average retirement age currently is 68. So even if they were to retire anywhere in their 60s, one of the largest fears that they're going to have or they're going to be faced with is running out of money. Because what happens is once you're done working, there's a retirement account there. There's 401k funds. You might have some brokerage accounts. You might have a rental property. You might have a bunch of things put in place. But the reality is they're not being refilled. So we have an epidemic of older people who are outliving their money. So if you set aside X amount of dollars during accumulation, you worked for 35 years, you worked hard, you had a state job, you had all these good things in place, and you sound like one of those folks who were 60 years old, they got this in place, they got that in place. What happens when one of them lives to be 92? What happens when one of them lives to be 95 or 97?
And for the young people, don't they get that check at the every month on the 1st and 15th? Don't they get that check?
I wouldn't bank on it. I wouldn't continue to bank on it. Actually, we got some information a few weeks ago. We had a representative come in and they were speaking in terms of Social Security. A lot of people bank on Social Security benefits and retirement, and we're told right now that a lot sooner than people actually think, Social Security won't be a reliable resource.
They said the same thing when my grandma was retiring, so I'm just going to go ahead and bank my whole future on. If my grandma has Social Security, I'm paying in the Social Security, I think I'm going to get it.
A lot of things have changed since your grandma's age, and I'm sure she's a saint, but a lot of things are different from when grandma was around, and it's actually a double-edged sword because we are such a technologically advanced generation in a culture now that so many people are in working forces that don't contribute to Social Security. We have app development, name it. There's so many new positions for young people and so many up-and-coming startups that don't involve contributing back into Social Security. We've become maybe too advanced for our own good.
So I'm a little ignorant, and I would like clarification. Can you pivot a little bit more?
Sorry.
So explain that to me, that there's fields that currently are not paying into. What do you mean?
Small business startups, different tech firms, even some pharmaceutical firms. There's a huge industry of folks in our generation and even the generation maybe a little before us that aren't contributing to Social Security. They're small businesses. They're doing things under the radar. They're doing private contracting. I mean, if you look at just the development of, say, graphic designers, the average graphic designer was probably freelance, and they probably make a really great living, but they're not paying, the taxes maybe that they should, and they're not contributing to Social Security probably the way they should. And you look at how prevalent someone like a graphic designer is in today's world. You look at the marketing. Marketing is no longer done on paper and cardboard. It's done, in pixels. So when you look at just one, profession, and obviously there's dozens more, there are tons of people who are no longer contributing back into Social Security. So although Grandma may have heard that, there weren't necessarily really the statistics to support it. But now there is. And the federal government realizes it, and that's why they're, advising us. We're telling clients by 2040, you shouldn't even bank on it. So right now, even in my planning, it would be great if that option is there, but we're not going to bank on it because there's no certainty. Mm-hmm. I mean, it'd be completely negligent for me to say, okay, you're guaranteed your Social Security in 30 years. If I'm working with a 30-year-old or a 35-year-old, yeah, we're gonna account for this portion, and it's a question mark. It is a complete enigma. We don't know. So we're being advised professionally to say, okay, let's plan to say it's not going to be there. And if it is there, great. We've got another source of income in retirement. But how bad would it look if I say, okay, we're going to be getting X amount of dollars, or we're projected to see X amount of dollars in retirement, and it never happens because it can't. It can't be supported.
So right now, Social Security is something that you don't even factor into the numbers when it comes to
especially for people like us who won't be retiring for another 30, 40 years. No, I wouldn't. I believe it'd be negligent too, because there's no way to guarantee that. There's no certainty behind it. We're being advised that there's certainly no certainty behind it. So, no.
I hope you guys are listening. If you don't ever listen to this show, if you're like, man, I hate Tayla, I can't stand Tayla, I hope you are paying attention. If you miss any part of today's conversation, we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, we are recording, so it will be on iTunes, but I think this is probably one of the most important conversations we have ever had. And I feel really, I feel my listeners and they feel me. So I feel people are scared. People are really scared because this is, again, we were speaking to One Stock, One Future yesterday out of Detroit, and he was talking about how this is the conversations that we have, but yet I'd like to ask you, as a financial planner, and you walk in different spaces than us, Noah. You are around a different caliber of people. Is finances something that's regularly discussed? And do you see the difference between, like, we don't talk about our finances, you better keep the house business in the house. Yeah. And in other communities, it's like, like me and Jane made $120,000 last year.
It's, I was actually on Top 3, I was on another show a few days ago, and that was the conversation. And it is because I am exposed to other cultures, other races, other communities, and most certainly, they make their financial, conversations very open. And I believe it's important to. And unfortunately, in our communities, everything is so taboo. We don't talk about money. And me being West Indian, it's even worse then. But that's also another narrative that has to change. We have to hold each other accountable, and we have to use each other as resources. There's so many young people right now who are coming out of school and, for lack of better terms, getting shafted. You know what I mean? Because they don't know what someone in their same profession is able to make in another position or in another employed elsewhere. You could have, two engineers, making significantly more than the other because those conversations aren't had. And now the person who's getting the shorter end of the stick has nothing to lobby off of. You know what I mean? He thinks that, making the $60,000 is great, but he's doing the same exact amount of work for the guy who's making 90. But that kind of information isn't shared. Again, like many things in our communities, it is always about being the chief and not the Indians. We always want to feel like we're the man, and we always want to feel like we've got it, and we've got the juice, and we've got all these things, and it doesn't quite work that way in other cultures, in other races, in other communities. Conversations about salaries are very open. Conversations about financial savviness are very open. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you know how secretive we are about a salary? Like, how much do you make a year? Like, even clients that I work with, I'm not their loan officer. I am their real estate agent. But before, let's at least get a ballpark of what you might be looking at for houses. How much do you make a year?
Right.
So I'll send you over my pre-approval after the loan officer looks at all my finances. It's more than taboo. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemous.
Yeah, it's scary because I've literally sat down with clients who look like me, who are beautiful brown people, and they've consulted me for a financial consultation, and we'll speak about account balances or X, Y's, and Z's, and it's like I've been asked, what do you need that information for? And I kind of do a look around. It's like, wait a minute, you've asked me, you've consulted me to come out and help you devise your financial plan. And when I ask you about your finances, you ask me, why do I need that information? Luckily, I've gained a lot of patience working with other people, and I don't pack up my briefcase and get out of there. But that's the mindset.
How do you, with that type of mindset, again, we understand the power, the value of a dollar, not understanding the power of a dollar. With that mindset, how do you, break that down? So for the listeners, you don't need that information. You need to know what I tell you, and then work off that. How would you break down that wall, that barrier?
I'm a big analogy person, and I use analogies because it's one of the easiest ways to convey my message to people in on their terms, so to say. So when you go to a doctor and you need help, and the doctor is asking you, where's it hurt? How bad does it hurt? What's going on? The more information you give him, the more likely he'll be able to help you. It works the same way. If you're not willing to disclose your information or disclose your intimate details, I will say this, as a financial advisor, I am probably the most intimate relationship in my clients' lives. Depending on what kind of work we're doing, whether it be investment, whether it be retirement, whether it be insurance, at that point, I need your social, I need your blood, I need your urine, I need your account information, I need everything.
Hold on, what you finna do with the OB negative?
Well, for life insurance. If people need life insurance, which
you were serious. I thought you were being facetious.
No. It is a
urine. What do you do with urine?
If you're seeking life insurance and you apply for life insurance, depending on how much you're applying for, they will take a sample of your urine and will take a sample of your blood because it's predicated on current health and current age.
What?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Nurses.
My mind is all the way blown.
So I'm gonna know the innermost details of your health, of your finances, of everything. So it's very important to cultivate the rapport, because if we're working on trust and we're working on a relationship for the next 20, 30, 40 years, depending on how old the client is, it's very important that the clients have faith and they have trust in me, because if you can't trust your advisor, chances are they're not going to be able to help you. If you go into the doctor's office and you've got chronic pains in your back, and you go in there and he goes, what's bothering you? He goes, oh, my legs bother me a little bit. Chances are your back's going to keep hurting because you're not disclosing the information. You have to help us help you. If I don't know what that account balance is, and I don't know where your assets are, and I don't know X, Y's, and Z's about your finances in your portfolio, I can't help you. I don't know. I can't help you. I can only help you based upon the information you share with me. I ask very detailed questions. I search every nook and cranny of what it is that you do have in place. And if I can't get the more information I have, the better I can do my job. The better I can do my job, the better off you'll be.
So have you ever been in a situation where you were sitting down to have that intimate conversation and somebody left out a couple of details, and then somewhere down the line? Always. And that's less on our community. That's just with everyone. And oftentimes, if you're working with, I've had issues, or not even issues. I've had cases where you sit down with a guy who's 62 years old. Retirement is in the next 10 years at some point, and we're kind of combing through his finances, and I'm asking all the right questions, and I'm digging it up, and boom, here we go. We find that the guy's had a 401k from when he was 18, when he used to change tires at Sears, and he's $9,000 in it. And then obviously he's not thinking about that. Last time he was there was 40 years ago. And certainly we'll get down to it. And I've found clients, How do you find that? So is it like where'smymoney.com type finding?
We jog the memory. Typically when I sit down with a client, we're discussing retirement, we need to know where funds are, because what happens is a lot of times, especially with young professionals, they're going to get into their first job. Chances are that's not their dream job, and chances are they're not going to stay there. So what happens is, if you're contributing to deferred comp and then you leave that job, it is your then responsibility to roll your money over.
Oh, hold up. Right. So this is a whole nother conversation. No, we might need to have you back once a week for 10 hours, because this is a lot of information. So, all right, first job, 401k, there 4 years. I didn't know I had 401k. Now I left, went to another job. How do I roll? What is rollover? It does sound like Walmart.
Those are rollbacks. These are rollovers. The idea behind a rollover is very simple. What happens is, when you're employed by a company, you're able to take advantage of the benefits that employer provides. 401k, disability, all the perks of working for that company. But what happens is when you're no longer employed there, they're no longer going to offer you their benefits. So what happens is the match stops. They won't be matching your contributions. And typically your contributions will stop to that 401k. So what happens is that 401k becomes stale. And at that point, we have to roll that money from a 401k into an IRA.
So how do you, all right, let's go back to the client, 60 years old, Sears 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. Is that money like lost? Is it stagnant? Do you not get to touch it? Is it?
Oh no, that's your money. You work for it.
But how do I find it? Where is it? Is it like a Bitcoin somewhere?
If you sit down with me, we're going to comb through your entire accumulation period. We're going to start at your first job. We're going to see exactly where you've worked and exactly what you may have contributed to any deferred compensations throughout your entire accumulation phase.
So do you contact Sears, which may not even be in existence? What happens?
Oh, we certainly can, and that information is readily available. If someone gets bought out, you can definitely find the track records. But if you have ever contributed to deferred compensation at any point during your working career, your accumulation years, we'll find that money. We'll certainly find that money, because what's going to happen is when we sit down, I'm going to make sure that we comb through your entire accumulation phase. So from your very first job, where you very well could have been contributing to a 401k or whatever kind of deferred compensation was in place, you could have very well been contributing, and then you leave and you forget about it. And then 40 years goes by and you forgot that you've got $9,000 sitting around in a 401k. You know how happy that guy was coming into $9,000 extra? We were able to do some things with that $9,000. So sitting down with any decent advisor, they're going to kind of comb through that entire process and see where you may have money, because our job is to not only help you with your assets, to find your assets. Mm-hmm. We need to know what you have in place. I can't help you until I know all the ins and outs. That additional $9,000 changed some things for us. We were able to do a few extra things that we didn't plan on doing, and it was 40 years old. And the great part was, while
it didn't collect interest.
Of course it did. It was still invested.
So
it was still certainly invested.
He collected the interest.
Absolutely, it's his money.
Really?
It's his money.
So what did that $9,000 turn into?
No, he didn't contribute anywhere near $9,000. He was an 18-year-old kid 40 years ago, making small contributions to his 401k.
Oh,
so now he was looking at Now he was looking at $9,000. Obviously, I can't release the details of it, but
of course.
He had contributed nowhere near $9,000. Nowhere near $9,000. The $9,000 was what he contributed plus all the compounded interest over the years.
So that leaves us, well, really quickly before I get into my next question, Shay at Freak, good rising. So we shouldn't have a 401k, or we should?
We absolutely should have a 401k. 401ks are tremendous tools, especially for those of you who are getting matches on your 401ks. What I advise my clients to do is we contribute up to the match. So if your company is going to give you a match, if you contribute a max of 6%, we're contributing 6%. Oftentimes we'll have people who overfund 401ks, and that
match, right?
And not even just for the match, but we have people who just don't have the right information. They don't have the right knowledge, so they'll be dumping. Currently, right now, the Fed is saying that people should be contributing, especially young professionals, anywhere between 10 and 15% of their salary to retirement. Mm-hmm. So we'll have people who are contributing above their match. So if you're only getting matched up to 6% and you're contributing 10, that extra 4% is what we look to diversify. So you're dumping that into your 401k, and it's being invested, and that's great, and that's all pre-tax money. But a huge problem that we could run into require minimum distribution laws of overfunding qualified plans. So if you're dumping in all this money into your qualified plan, your 401k, XYZ, by the time, the idea is for people who do overfund their 401ks is when they retire, they'll be able to make their election at how much they pull out of their deferred compensations. Mm-hmm. So when you take your distributions in retirement, your idea is saying, okay, I put all this money in, and when I retire, I'm going to keep myself at this tax bracket. So I made $100,000 a year for 25 years while I was working. I've got all this money in my 401k. When as soon as I retire, I'm only going to pull out $50,000 a year to keep myself in a $50,000 tax bracket. And then the federal government's going to say, wrong. RMD laws are going to kick in, and what RMD laws are required minimum distribution laws. So at that point, the government's going to say, you're this old and you're retiring with this much qualified money, you have to take out at least this much. So your idea was you'll keep yourself in a lower tax bracket, pulling out $50,000 from your 401k after you retire, and then the federal government steps in and says, no, you're going to take out $90,000. So now you're taking out $90,000. You made $100,000 for 25 years. So now you find yourself.
Now you're going to be taxed.
Right. So now the biggest issue is we're going to find you in the same tax bracket in retirement that you were in accumulation. We've got a problem. For people who are making, say, $100,000 today, they're in a 28.3% tax bracket. you can probably, it stinks no matter what. Giving the government 28.3% of your money stinks, but you can absorb it a little better while you're working because you've got a paycheck coming in every 7 or 14 days. That paycheck comes in and you can brace that 28.3 hit. What happens when that income is no longer there?
How do I get like Mitt Romney and pay 13%?
Illegally.
Yeah. Hold on, but he did it legally. It still ran for president.
There's some techniques around what you'll do with your retirement money, and that's why we say that additional money that you were dumping in. See, Mitt Romney, what he did was his taxable money, he lowered that percentage. So your qualified money is what's going to determine your required minimum distributions. Mm-hmm. Now, if we look to diversify, which is what one of my primary objectives is for my clients, is we'll have money, we'll have qualified money, and we'll have non-qualified money. So there's 3 buckets of retirement. There's tax now, tax later, and tax never. The average person knows nothing about the 3. The average person only knows about tax later, and that's your 401k.
Please teach me nothing but the tax never.
There is most certainly a tax never bucket. And unfortunately, that is the bucket that most folks don't know about if they don't consult professional help. If you don't know the ins and outs, you just won't know. It's truly one of the tools of the privy. And anyone who studies anything about Warren Buffett has been very open and honest about his I won't call it exploitation, but he's a
legal crook, as my broker would say.
Not even just a legal crook. He's very savvy in terms of the way he does things. Warren Buffett's long been taking advantage of IRC code, and IRC is Internal Revenue Code 770 and 770-2, and that allows you to take advantage of tax-free bonds and investments and not pay any taxation on particular investments.
Can you repeat that? Though, that was a different language, right? Quick.
and that's my goal, is to kind of break it down into layman's terms so people can take advantage of it. Warren Buffett has long professed his love and his adoration for Internal Revenue Code, IRC code 770 and 770-2, and those codes speak on using tax-free bonds in this case it'd be an insurance. Tax-free bonds and insurance that allow you to have tax-sheltered investments. So he's able to invest a portion of his money, get a return on it, and pay no taxes, no ordinary income, or no capital gains.
Is that something that you can utilize, something I can utilize?
I do it every day. I'm currently invested in very similar plans.
Noah, can we have you back? Because I didn't realize that finances could be so, we ran through this hour.
Yeah.
This hour is gone.
I knew I'd have to come back. I knew I'd have to come back, but I love to come back. And just a small piece about me. This is why I do what I do. Like I said, I am a product of watching my parents do $10 worth of work to make a dime, and I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. And I knew growing up in the household that I did grow up in, my parents cultivated a very conscious household in terms of you're no better than the brother beside you. You know what I mean? So what? You went to a good school, and so what? You have all this information and education. What does it mean when the people where you grew up knew nothing about it? If you can't keep them abreast to it, if you can't keep them, ahead of the curve, you can't educate them and make them better. Who are you? Who are you? If you have all this education, you're so great, but your community is suffering, and your community doesn't have access to these resources. Who are you? How great are you really?
No, I'm going to need for you to talk to some of these millionaires. I'm going to need for you to talk to some of these politicians.
I want to talk to everybody. We just have to raise the consciousness. We have to kind of strip down some of these walls that we built. Folks need to have very open conversations about their finances. I want brothers. When I walk in the barbershop, I want brothers to less about Kobe and LeBron and more about diversifying retirement and what a cat's doing for investments.
Speak it into existence.
Oh, that's what we're doing. I was in my barbershop yesterday, stirring it up. Hey, turn ESPN off, man. What a cat's doing? Let's talk about this, man. Why aren't we talking about business ideas? Growing up being a black man, growing up in underprivileged communities, we are the most resourceful people in the world. We had the ramen industry going crazy long before all these ramen shops are popping up by not by choice. You know what I mean? We are very resourceful people, and it's just time we start directing those resources and the ideas and the energy and the innovativeness. We are very innovative people. It's time we start channeling that energy elsewhere. You know what I mean? That for me, it's just about hope. It's about hope and creating that hope and kind of cultivating that hope for the generations behind us, the generations coming up. it's a reality when young brothers don't know that there are people like me around. That there's brothers that got to put on their suit every day, and I'm from the hood. I'm from around here. I grew up around here. Like, there's no difference. It was predicated on obviously having some support. I didn't get here alone. I certainly didn't get here alone. But it's important for young brothers to be able to see me and see me in a suit and see me, maybe driving a nice car, see me, articulating and being able to conduct these kinds of conversations and talk about finance very thoroughly and be confident and be a professional because they don't have any other outlets. You know what I mean? Their idea of success is either dribbling a basketball or, what they see is what they identify with. They see the guys, hanging out, maybe hustling, doing those things. And that's not their only option. If they're not picking up a basketball or trying to rap, they don't, we need more brothers who understand that there are positions like this available for us. It was a little harder for me because I'm black. Yeah, it was a little harder for me because I'm a black male, but it's possible. Like, I didn't get here by mistake. I got here because I'm qualified. I didn't beg any favors. I put my resume up just like everybody else did, and I was just the best suit. I was the best suit for the company. So, while racism is certainly prevalent, I believe, being proactive and being qualified changes that.
Noah B. Jones, New York Life Insurance, the son of, what is the correct name of the restaurant?
My family business is Preparations. They're down on 220 Columbia Road, and they do have the best mangoes in the city.
Yeah, I told you.
Tayla told no lies.
As far as, I wanted one last question. Compound interest is something we do not understand, but other communities use it and become wealthy off of it.
The idea of compounded interest is the success of any investment. Any single investment, every single investment is predicated on compounded interest. Unfortunately, in our communities, in our cultures, we have this obsession with this instant gratification kind of thing, where guys want to invest $100, want to pull out $1 million tomorrow. It doesn't work that way, and that's a pipe dream if anyone's selling it to you. You
just buy a QP, bust it down real quick, and get your return.
And go to prison, and then once you go to prison, you come out and you complain about not being able to get a job. No, bro. Like, weed is about to be legal, guys. Give it up. Give it up, man. And even if you are selling weed, it should only be a hustle. This is not a career. But even outside of that, compounded interest is the idea of an investment working properly. The more your account grows, the larger the principal will then be, the more interest it pulls. So the idea of investing small amounts of money, and that's what a retirement account is. No one, the average person isn't dumping thousands of dollars a week into their 401k. Small contributions. It's a small percentage of their check, anywhere between 8 and 15%. And they're making those small contributions over 10, over 20, over 25, over 30, over 35 years. And that's what gives you your money in retirement. That's what gives you all that interest because it has time to mature. The money has to mature in the investment.
There goes our monopoly term again. We have a quick call. We're going to have to bring Noah back because we have... cancel. Oh, damn. I just canceled a live. I'm sorry. We're going to have Noah back because there are a lot of questions that I have. There were some that were on Facebook that I wasn't able to get to. We have a caller on the line. Good rising, caller, you're live.
Good rising. Good morning, Queen. Hi, Tayla. Hi, Noah. This is Lisa. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to call in really quick, Tayla, to just give my appreciation to Noah. Excellent young man. We met for the first time a couple of weeks ago. Just really floored me with everything that he educated me on. I was a little nervous when I first met him, as I told him, my walls were up. But he made the whole process really easy, really smooth. I thought, that when, I was a little intimidated just from his title, but when he came to me and spoke to me, it wasn't like he wasn't talking down. He was very positive, nothing but positive vibes. Our initial phone call, I said, okay, what do I need? Tell me the documents I need now. And he was like, Lisa, you know what? I just need you to have an open mind. I need you to be positive, and I just need you to have an open mind. That's all. That's all you need to do. And that just made it just very easy and very comfortable. And, coming from the community and not being knowledgeable to, of our financial options, that just put my mind at ease. And I told her exactly, what my future plans were, what I wanted to what I wanted to do and obtain. And not once did he say, okay, Lisa, I think that's a little far-fetched. Or, okay, I appreciate what you do. You're an amazing young man, and I'm looking so forward to working with you in the future. I truly do appreciate that meeting that we had. It's not only opened my eyes, but it just gave me more power to do what I need to do and to understand that, as he said, Taylor, when we were talking, he said, Lisa, when people tell you that you can't do it, you have to show them that you can do it. And then when you do it, they're going to ask you how you did it. So don't let people limit you, but most of all, don't limit yourself. And that was just a powerful message. And I'm an older woman, so when he said that to me, I was really taken back. And again, I appreciate what you're doing, Noah. I do. I appreciate you being out in our community, educating people like myself who don't know. There was a lot of terminology that he was using here that I did not understand, and he was very patient, and he just broke it down in simple terms. And it was a very uplifting meeting. And so again, I just wanted to call and say thank you, and thank you, Taylor, for everything that you do. And please let me know if you ever start a mentorship women's program, because I would love to be one of the first people to sign up. I would love to mentor with you and shadow with you, so I can learn from you and continue to obtain my goals. So that's all I want to say.
Lisa, thank you so much, baby. I love you. I appreciate you. Peace and blessings. I can't wait to see you in person so I can give you a hug. I know you'll be able to meet him in person. He will be at the Bospoli building. He is on the panel of the Boston Business Builder, mainly because of all of this knowledge that he's able to share, all of this wisdom that he has. And I love the fact that he knows and we didn't even get to talk about this. We don't even have time to talk about this. Intergenerational wealth, the fact that you watched your parents bust their behinds for $10 and make a dime, but yet they were able to compound that dime into opening their own, and they have a brick and mortar, and you could walk in there, get some of the best mangoes in the city.
The best.
And your dad is an amazing cook.
Absolutely. We incorporated a kitchen almost 3 years ago now. So if you guys are in the area, most certainly stop by for an amazing experience. You're going to run into natural juice, natural food, best fresh fruit and produce in the city.
And the address is?
220-222 Columbia Road, down in Dorchester, right in between Devon and Stanwood Street.
And it's the blue building?
It's the yellow building.
But blue trimming? How do I?
We're Caribbean. It's yellow, blue, it's everything. But really quick, I just want to say I received those words from Lisa with tremendous humility. Hearing those words is reaffirming what I do, and I feel tremendous hearing those things. And the results of my work can never just be X's and O's. Our community needs a lot more than X's and O's. And what the quote that she was referring to was the people who think it can't be done shouldn't bother the people who are doing it.
Hold on, pause. We need to grab that on the Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, because you all of these analogies, all these proverbs, you just come out with a book, Noah. Just come out with a book.
It's on the way. It's on the way.
Hold on, we almost there.
No problem.
So one more time, what was that?
The quote that I gave the caller was, the folks who believe it can't be done should never bother the people who are doing it.
And you're doing it, Noah. How do we reach you? How do we contact you? And why should people come out, in your opinion, to the Boston Business Builder?
My contact is N as in Noah, B as in Brian. It's not my middle name, but NB Jones, JONES at FT as in Frank Tom .NewYorkLife.com. Again, that's NB Jones at FTFrankTom.com. .NewYorkLife.com. You can reach me through Tayla. However you got to reach me, I'm accessible. I'm always around. What a tremendous event we have coming up this Sunday, the Boston Business Builder. Like I mentioned in the opening, not only do I work with individuals, and I also love working with businesses, especially young Black businesses. I think entrepreneurship is extremely important. It's going to be a tremendous event. The lineup looks amazing. I'm just very humbled to be on a lineup with these folks. it's going to be great. It's going to be great for if you're business minded, if you own a business, if you're thinking about developing a business, you'll learn how to, and you'll learn the ins and outs and the right and wrong ways to do things, because there are always right and wrong ways to do everything. So if you're available this Sunday, make sure you're at this event, even if you're not a business owner.
Send me the babies.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the ABCD event we went to. It was so refreshing to see so many young people being innovative, so many young startups, and so many young ideas, and so many young concepts. Get your kids there. You know, if you have kids with those kinds of minds that need nourishment, that need support, that need education, that need knowledge, man, get them down there. I hope that place is packed. I hope that place is packed wall to wall, because there's going to be so much good information from the panel. I tip my hat to Tayla for all that she does for the community, and it's unfortunate that it isn't, even more recognized. I did see that she won an award recently, and I think I know about another one coming up that she doesn't know about. But
are you serious?
Time will tell. But again, tremendous salute to Tayla. What she does for our community is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. She deserves all the recognition in the world, and the greatest part is she doesn't ask for it. She does it out the goodness of her heart. It's very organic for those of you who know her. If you don't know her, get to know her. Incredible human being, great person to know, tremendously resourceful, and you'll be able to see that kind of manifest on Sunday. So if you guys are available, 12 to 6 at the Bospoli building down. That's the new building down Dudley, the beautiful building down Dudley. So if you're available, get yourselves out there. It's going to be a tremendous event. We got an incredible guy coming up to speak to us about business ownership and business cultivating. And again, I am on a panel speaking. I'll be discussing business tax efficiency and tax diversity, which is, what deters a lot of people from getting into business, because most business owners get killed in taxes. And we want to make sure that we're keeping more of our coin and not giving it to good old Uncle Sam.
Ashe. Noah, I can't tell you how much I love you. I thank you. I appreciate you. I'm so honored to have you on the panel. Again, Noah has always been a celebrity in my eyes, and you will continue to be. I am really excited, not only for June 25th, but for us in general. Like, we're growing, Noah. We're realizing our power. We're realizing our potential. We're realizing the power of $1. And, we're not seeing that instant gratification, but I do see mindsets changing.
Oh,
I do see people starting to, just like the woman said, your client said, like, just keep an open mind. We're starting to keep an open mind. We are very guarded about our finances, but we're understanding that I see you. I see you trying. I see you working. I see you diversifying your portfolio. I see you working on your credit. I can't tell you how many people have contacted me like, Tayla, I had a 510 and now I'm working on a 640, and they're so excited about that 640. And a lot of people are like, you better get your credit up. Like, what's a 640? But I'm so like, the fact that we're even conscious about it, when once upon a time it was not even a conversation that we would have. So I'm blessed. And I just want my people to be blessed. We perish for lack of knowledge. So I just want us to continue educating. If you missed any of today's conversation, it's on Facebook Live. It's on YouTube. And I will get this up immediately so you guys can listen on iTunes. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I love you. I appreciate you. Oh, Noah, you used to have a beard once upon a time.
It's seasonal.
Oh, okay.
My beard is seasonal.
Okay. Because I was going to suggest that you go pick up some beard oil from Faith, and I was like, hold on, Noah doesn't even have a beard anymore.
I just took it down a little bit yesterday. It's hot. It's hot, man. I got to come about that thing when it gets hot.
I see. And he doesn't need any hair growth oil because his hair is longer than any females I've ever seen.
That's the power.
But as far as like natural products are concerned, Faith Natural, 66A South Street, vegan, organic, makes them in her kitchen. They're absolutely amazing. From eczema to alopecia, she can help you. She has singing bowls, waist beads, and if she lay hands on you, you might be healed of all ailments. I'm just joking, but she's absolutely amazing. I am a Second Amendment sister all the way, not on paper, but in my heart. Hit up Firearm Fred, 617-293-1011. I want us to go out. Make it a date night. You and Boo go out. Pew, pew, pow, pow. Like, I need you to understand how to work a firearm. Killer Mike said, y'all ready for a revolution? You ain't ready for a revolution. Do you know how to work a firearm? No. Do you know how to fish? No. Do you know how to plant? No. You ain't ready for a revolution. So we need to work together, get this thing together. I love you. I appreciate you. Waking Up with TaylaAndre, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7. You know what tomorrow is, right? Freaky Friday. Let's get it in.
DJ Sus won the feature presentation. Listen, make sure you wake up with Tayla.
You did a good job.
That was amazing.
Girl, I was watching you work. I'm like, that she looked the queen of multitasking. You would think she was like